So I would like to start with your new album, Synergy
Hmm.
Restored. I don't know. For me, I think it's maybe the heaviest when we talk about CKY stuff in '96,
Hmm.
Peter Beans, and but also it's kind of groovy. It makes me want to move. I don't know. What can
Bob
you,
your head.
yeah, and move
Yeah.
your body? What can you, as an artist, say about this album? What does this album mean for you?
Oh, it's so important for so many reasons. Working on it, man, I chills going down my spine whenever we wrote something and recorded something that was so cool. And it's so rare for me because I've been doing this for so long and I've been playing guitar for so long that it's hard for me to be impressed by stuff that I come up with because I have my little cassette recorder here and I mic up my little practice amp and I record riffs all the time. But the older I get and the more I do this, the more music I put out. I'm scrapping a lot more than ever. So it's harder for me to impress myself, which has to come first. Because if something is written that isn't impressing to myself, then I don't think it's fair to put out to the fans if I don't believe it. And they know that. They can tell. Like just like when you're on stage and you're not having a good time, the audience can tell. So with this album, not only was it a lot of fun to take a lot of time to try to make every song sound like it could be the first song on the album. So I wanted every song to be equally as strong, and I wanted them all to sound different.
Mm. I really
As
think you
far as
did that well.
heaviness, yeah, thank you. A lot of people are telling me that we achieved that, and it makes me really happy. It's been out a week, and I hope it's doing well. Is it? I was curious to ask you what country are you in?
Serbia, yeah, I wrote to you.
Serbia. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
Serbia.
really bad at geography. I don't even know where a lot of the states are in the
Yeah, that's
U.S.
in Balkans, in Southeast Europe.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so
Um,
it's close to Croatia, Bosnia, Hungary, Macedonia. Greece is relatively close. Yeah,
I've never been to Greece. I've never been to Serbia or Croatia. Um, France. I've never been there. But there's also a lot of places that I've never been and there's places that I have been to that I don't remember either. So I am so bad at geography. Like I don't know the capitals of states, and even
uh,
in the United States, I don't know anything. I wake up when we're on tour. I always wake up and say, "Where are we?" And they'll say, "We're in Boise, Idaho," and I was like, "Where's that?" Is it north? Is it south? Like I don't even know. So
yeah.
I was never really good at knowing where countries and places are on the earth. But
That kind of leads me to my next question. Before the album came out, you had some setbacks, like brothers Lawyer, I think, or how they call. They left the band, and you find
yeah,
replacement. You got reunited with Mary J from CKY days.
yes.
And how did that affect everything? I was going to ask you about tour. Is some tour in plans, and will there be maybe some Europe tour?
Yes, we're working right now because our new drummer, Tuamas, I can't pronounce his last name right now or remember it, but he's a great guy. He's a great drummer. He's been in a lot of bands. Um, he has a lot of connections with booking shows in Europe. Um, so we're working on getting there hopefully over the summer, so we can do a festival or two. And
Mm.
as far as US, we just finished 5 weeks. Well, it's been 3 months since we finished, but we just finished a 5 week tour, and 4 or 5 shows in, I think Boise, Idaho. After we did sound check, you know, our bass player just left without saying anything. And
Wow.
we were worried. We thought maybe he was kidnapped or murdered or something, until we found out that he took his bass. So that's how we knew that he left on purpose, because he took his stuff with him. Didn't even have the guts to face us and say, "Look, man, I can't handle this. My baby mama is giving me a hard time about being out on tour, because she thinks that I'm gonna meet another girl." So it was just really childish, and it was really cowardice, and it was shocking. But we and the reason that his brother Tim wasn't on the tour is because he was having surgery. So
Mhm.
we thought Tim was still going to be in the band when we came home, but then Tim stopped talking to us. So for no reason, both of them left the band and refused to say why, except for that. I know why, but they refused to say to the fans or apologize or anything like that. But actually, it got better when Sean took off and left us, because it could have been really bad, and it could have been like, okay, now we have to go home. We don't have a bass player. But at the same time, the same day he left, we ended up driving. It's a really long story, but we ended up driving to this factory called Sweetwater. They do online musical equipment. They ship it out online, but they have this huge warehouse. And the day that he left, we drove by there, and I had a connection there. And the guy called me up. My friend called me up from Sweetwater, and he said, "I heard you just lost your bass player. I have a piece of equipment that will make it so that you will be able to play guitar and bass at the same time." And it ended up sounding amazing. So it actually turned into a good thing. We had more room in the van when he
Mhm.
left. We didn't have to put up with, his complaining, and he's a very anxious. Uh, I loved those guys, but they were very anxious and they didn't know much about the business. So yeah, it was bad, because when I first hired them, when we first started playing, I said, okay, is it a good idea to hire two brothers? Because if one leaves, the other's going to leave.
Yeah.
So if for some reason one of them decides to quit, then the other brother will probably decide to quit too. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, I called it, in like 2014. I knew that was going to happen. But I think that the bigger the band was starting to get, the more scared they were of success, and having to be responsible, and
Yeah.
to have ambitions to actually reach their goals. I mean, this is something that they wanted to do their whole lives, and they just threw it away. So
Yeah.
basically, what happened, as soon as we came home, I said, "Maddie, you're on bass just like you were when we were in CKY,
Mhm.
and your buddy Thomas is gonna play drums." And we had a meeting last night, and everything's going good. He has connections, like I said, with booking, and everything's back to normal. It's even better. We have
That's
a better
great.
lineup. We have a better lineup now, because Matty J on bass toured with me in CKY. So there's kind of a CKY reunion going on there. And of course, Ken is an amazing guitar player. All the fans are loving his guitar solos. I've always loved them. He spent so much time on his guitar solos. He spent so much time working on the album itself. We re-recorded stuff and piled on tracks, and then when we mixed it all, it turned out exactly the way we wanted it.
Yeah, it
So
really is great. Yeah.
there was a time when I played all the bass tracks, and then Sean went in and taped over them without telling me. But I'm so
Hmm.
glad he did that, because he was a real bass player that was able to come up with bass lines that I wouldn't have thought to do. So I did played bass on all the album, and some of my bass parts are in there, and
Uh-huh.
most of his bass. So it's like, it's so weird. Like, Ken did some rhythm guitars, and then I did some rhythm guitars, and they're kind of all mixed in there. So everybody played their instruments as well as other instruments. So it's just a really, really Regardless of how well it does or how it's gets received, people love it, and it'll always be probably my favorite album that I've ever worked on until, of course, the next one. Hopefully, we can top it. But it's going to be really hard to top Synergy Restored.
It will be. In the meantime, you joined. I'm not sure if I'll pronounce it well. It's is it Malevolent or Malevolent? How do you say creation?
Malevolent Creation.
Malevolent creation. What does that mean? For 96 bitter beans, will you be doing like parallel simultaneously in both bands, or?
It's it's right now. It's hard to give too many details on what's going to happen with Malevolent Creation, but when the band does get active again, because Malevolent Creation's kind of been put on hold because there's some issues that need to be taken. But first, that whole the whole lineup is gone, and so Phil Fasciano, they've been to Croatia, so um, they've been everywhere. They've been to Indonesia and they're an underground death metal band with a huge worldwide following. So basically, it's just going to be like I always have multiple projects going on. Like when I was doing Carver City, I was acting in movies. I was doing a World Under Blood record, which is a death metal record.
Mhm.
Uh, I was always doing foreign objects, so I can handle doing two projects at once. I always try to keep busy. I'm also starting to. I partnered up with a friend of mine, and we're doing movie scores now. So I like to
Wow.
keep busy, but as far as having two bands going, that's going to be a piece of cake because we just work around each other's schedules. But 96 Bitter Beings is without even question my number one priority. So I don't want anybody to think, oh, now he's in Malevolent Creation. I guess that means the end of 96 Bitter Beings. No,
Yeah,
no.
it's great to hear. Yeah. Uh,
I got I got a brutal voice. I got a set of
yes.
lungs. I can do the low shit. And I did a show with Malevolent Creation in Pomona, California. And when that video got out, they were like, "You have to join the band." And I accepted. I'm just waiting to hear what that entails, what's going to happen, the schedule, how is it going to work? Got to do an album first.
Mm.
But right now, I'm totally focused on um, Synergy Restored and talking to as many people as I can, doing as many interviews as I can, making sure that everybody knows how much we appreciate the support. Um, so if I was to ask you if you wanted to get a CD of the album, where would you go?
In Serbia,
Yes.
uh, only online.
Okay, so where online would you have to go? eBay?
Probably eBay, yeah. And I saw it's on Amazon, right? I know there is
Yes,
something about Amazon, but you said that everything's fixed now.
it's fixed. Yeah, I took care of that.
Yeah,
The record company helped me take care of that. So that's the situation. But a lot of record companies are having trouble getting Amazon to keep up with keeping things in stock. So it does make it hard to sell uh, CDs and vinyl if they don't have them in stock because nobody wants to sit and wait until Christmas to get you know a
yeah,
CD.
of
So,
course.
but they're I talked to Amazon and I talked to the record company and they solved the problem and they're going to start making sure that the album is in stock. And there's four variants of vinyl. I don't know if you're a vinyl freak like I am.
I love
Back
vinyls. Yeah.
I have, yeah. So I mean, I got thousands and thousands and thousands of vinyl. I'm obsessed with it. So when we pressed Synergy um, on vinyl, I wanted to do four variants. Different colors. Black vinyl always sounds better. Picture discs, and then there's a European one that's very limited edition. So I love variants. I like to collect variants of all my favorite records in different colors, all that stuff. So
Yeah, no, you're like famous for that as a collector.
yeah, I'm famous for being a collector, and it's cool when you're involved in a business that allows you to take part in something that you're obsessed with. So even if I wasn't in a band, I would be a vinyl junkie. But because I'm in a band, it was really cool for me to have a say in what record, what color should be of each vinyl. We got to make the picture discs. I want to show you one of the picture discs. You can only get it in my shop. Actually, is it here or no? I don't have one here. Unfortunately, I wish I could show it to you, but um,
That's okay.
yeah, it's okay. But you could find it if you wanted to look for it. But Nuclear Blast was kind enough to press up um, a really small limited edition of the picture disc, which I'm sure you know what a picture disc is,
Yeah, yeah, I'm familiar with it.
and black vinyl, which is for people that want to hear
Mm-hmm.
good, because picture discs don't sound as good as black vinyl. But I don't want to bore
Yeah,
anybody, but I am a vinyl junkie. So
yeah, but it's cool to have like a picture one.
yeah. So we have 300 of those. They're almost gone. We had 300 of the black ones. They're almost gone. So it's really cool to see that I'm not going to be sitting on all these records. People are actually ordering them. I'm shipping them out every day. Um, it's just great. It's just a great time. It's The business is so different right now, um, but there's still ways to work around it so that it can be, very rewarding and a lot of
Mm.
fun. Because I can't
No,
do anything else. I'm an entertainer. I can't do anything else.
yeah, and I mean, you're doing great. But
Thank you.
for those people who are not familiar with your work, and in Serbia, it's like that. I met some people that know about you and CKY and 96 Beer Beans. But
Uh-huh.
for those who don't know, how would you describe what you do? Would you be like, just play 96 White Bitter Beans, you know that song, or what would you
Right. And
say?
that the amount of streams and the amount of streams and singles that we've sold for that song are absolutely outrageous. Like millions and millions and millions and millions. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to name the band after that song, because it would immediately remind people that there's a connection there. So a lot of people are finding out every day, hey, I didn't know you were doing this band. It's awesome. I just got the
Mhm.
CD today, or I've been streaming it like crazy. So um, the audience is growing, and with this release already a week in, there's already people that are like, I am so glad that I found out that you're doing a new band, and you're going from where you left off. So it's just been really amazing, and everybody's been really amazing, and um, complimentary and just supportive. And now I'm not one to go online and make and like try to find, you know, I don't read reviews. I don't try to find people that,
Yeah.
you know, but I know what the album is because we've sat on it for so long. It's been done, not done, but we've been working on it since our first album campaign, because we recorded those albums at the same time. But because of COVID, we were able to spend an extra 2 years waiting in agony. It was torture to wait 2 years because the album was scheduled to come out in 2020, and that got set back because um, a all the record plants were closed because people at the plants were getting sick, and also I didn't want to put out an album that I couldn't do shows for.
Yeah.
So
Understandable.
we had to wait a long time, and it was torture, but at least we were able to go in with Synergy, uh, the album Synergy, and fix things or make them better, or add stuff. So it was really cool, and um, it was a great day. And I wish I remembered what day it was, but it was a great day when the final mix was sent over. Ken sent over the final mix, and I listened to it, and I was like, there is not a single thing I don't love about this album. I
The
can't say
mix is
that
really
about any
great.
other record. I thank you. I appreciate that a lot, and that's what people are saying. And it's overwhelming, and it makes me feel really good um, to hear that. But it was also good that for the first time, nothing bothered me about the performances, the sound, the songs, all that. So it was the campaign is pretty close. That album is kind of like a sampler of all different things I'm known
Hmm.
for, like a ballad, a cover, an instrumental with funny uh, movie quotes buried in there. Actually, I love that. There's a song on Campaign called "Cavalcade of Perversion," which is an
Hmm.
instrumental. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I used a
Yeah,
bunch of
I've heard it. I heard everything.
okay. A lot of my favorite one-line quotes that make me laugh, I put in there. It's just not to take, humor has to be involved in everything that I do, unless I'm doing a death metal project where I just get to scream and get take my rage out, you know, through my voice.
Yeah.
But
It's a,
yeah,
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
no, it's okay. It's your turn. I've been blah blah blah.
Oh, it's a fact that you're a great guitarist. You're on Loudwire's list of top underrated guitarists. I mean, you have a unique sound. Uh, how do you approach? I mean, your riffs are technical, but also melodic and catchy.
Right.
How do you approach writing riffs?
Um, I've tried to explain it in the past. I think it has a lot to do with how much time I spent with a guitar growing up and all the different influences that I have. A lot of metal bands that are out there are inspired by metal. So they don't end up with you, not all of them, but I'm just saying the ones I listen to because I'm a metalhead if I'm anything first. I'm a metalhead, and then of course, and then I love all different kinds of music because I believe a good song is a good song. But metal is aggressive, and bands start metal bands because they love metal and they don't really have an open mind to other kinds of music. So they end up sounding like the bands that they like. But since I have such a um, broad taste in music because I love good songs. I love ABBA. I love Christopher Cross.
Mhm.
I even like Laura Branigan. I think she had an amazing voice. There's so many things that inspire me. Horror movie soundtracks like John Carpenter, Goblin from Italy. Um, there's just so much stuff that Sparks is another one, a really funny band that I love. And I just try to take the best of all those artists that inspired me in all different kind of genres, put everything I like about them together, and I ended up with this style that people are able to connect me with as soon as they hear it, if they know, you
Yeah,
know.
because it's so unique. Really, I haven't heard it anything like it. You
But what
played
I plan
shows.
to do, the I'm sorry, we're just a
No,
little
no,
bit
no, no. Continue,
delayed.
continue. Yeah.
Well, I think I was just gonna say like I've been trying to answer that question because people are like, how do you write this stuff? I've been playing guitar and I don't even know how to write a song. So I I've been getting that question for decades, and I think the best solution to answering that question is something that I'm planning to do very soon is do a tutorial video on how to write a song.
Ah.
And I'm gonna start filming it the very beginning with no ideas. I'm gonna say, I have no idea right now. I have nothing in my head. I haven't written anything. Here's my guitar. Here's how you come up with a riff. And I just want, people that play guitar to stop thinking that they can't write songs or they can't write good riffs. And
That would be great, really.
I want to be able to show them that it's not as hard as they think it is. So that's going to be really cool um, to do that. I'm looking forward to doing that because it's something I should have done a long time ago.
Yeah, but you did. You had some tutorials on YouTube, and I
Right.
remember I watched them. Like play 96 quite bitter beans, flash into gear, dressed in decay, and
Yes.
stuff like that. Yeah, so this will be like an awesome continuous stuff to that. Um,
Yes. And also
anyway,
I
I
plan.
wanted, yeah,
Oh, go ahead. Go
continue.
ahead.
Sorry,
No,
we
finish your
keep
thought.
into. No,
I'm yapping.
I wanted to ask you, because you played shows with Guns N' Roses, Metallica, you met Ozzy Osbourne. Do you have some crazy story to share, or it doesn't have to be crazy, but your favorite?
I mean, meeting Ozzy at the Craig Kilborn show, which was a like late night Jimmy Kimmel type talk show back in the past. That format's kind of dying out, but Ozzy was the guest and we were the band. And this was when Answer Can Be Found came out. And if I remember correctly, Ozzy was like, "Want to meet the band?" It was just, "Hey, where's the band that's here?" And I just remember, God, he was so fucking nice. And it was such a relief because he could have said, "No, no, I don't want to take photos. I don't want to meet you." You know what I mean? That's what a lot of people do. But he was like, "Let's get a photo," and there wasn't anybody there, a bodyguard or anything, to say, "No, you can't take a photo with him." So he was so cool. I love Ozzy. He was after Kiss. When I was a kid, all I would listen to is Kiss and whatever, and Saturday Night Fever soundtrack and whatever my mom played in that house. But from Kiss, I found out about Ozzy, and Ozzy is a huge influence on me. I mean, if you listen to the riff to Crazy Train, you can kind of see the relationship between, you know, making songs, writing songs using riffs instead of just
Mhm.
chords or so that's where the single note riff thing with me started, where I started getting obsessed with writing single note riffs. Like, of course, Crazy Train. Like, if I feel like I could have written that riff if it wasn't already used in Crazy Train. So I love Ozzy Osbourne not only as you know an amazing, he's pretty much started heavy metal in many ways. He is a funny person. He's been through an awful lot of bad stuff, and um, he gets over it, and he lives. He lives on,
Mm.
you know. And I just love him so much. Um, as a musician, he's a nice guy. Now you can't say that about everybody
Mm.
in bands because, like Kiss, Kiss members are not as accommodating to fans
Yeah.
sometimes. But when I met Paul Stanley outside of being in the band, and he was really nice. But when um, I went backstage after a show, and Gene Simmons said, "Oh," I tried to tell him a story, and he said, "That's great, kid. Turn around and get your picture."
I
And I
knew there
said,
was going to be something about Gene Simmons.
"Yeah." Paul Stanley is much more, much more polite, but he says things. He's very sarcastic. Like I remember telling him, "Hey," when this was at the concert, he was in makeup. I said, "Hey, man, we're label mates. We're both on the same record company." And he was like, "Well, we're leaving that company, so good luck." So, but I met him in a doctor's office when he wasn't, in makeup, and it was just a normal thing. And he was really cool. We talked for like a half an hour. He took a picture of with me and my daughter, and he went up to my daughter and he touched her on the nose and he said, "What a princess." Or no, he said, "What an angel! What a beautiful angel!" And I'll never forget that because she was like a year old and now she's 17. But
Yeah, those are the legends. I mean,
yeah,
Kiss, Ozzy, and you are also in the music business for a long time now. How do you
long time.
see rock and metal music today?
Well, I tend to. There's such a shortage in America of mainstream attention to rock and metal, unless the bands are old. It's very hard to find an up and coming band that isn't a part of the past where everybody. I mean, we have Megadeth and Metallica and all these Foo Fighters and all these bands that have been around for 35, 40 years that will always have a mainstream audience, but this audience doesn't seem to be taking to any new bands. So I guess one of my goals that's probably really unrealistic that I've been saying is that I want our band to be a part of bringing rock and metal back into some kind of mainstream in America and across the world, because you have to put money behind something to make it mainstream. And over here, everybody's obsessed with TikTok, and they always end up putting these really bad pop songs that suck. It's just the same shit over and over again, which is what Blood Rock Mania is about. Blood Rock Mania is about um, music, heavy music with an edge coming back and destroying all the pop crap. Because kids, especially in America and North America, and definitely in Europe, they listen to this pop crap because they don't know about the rock and metal, and they need to get that pent up rage out, especially the male audience. You can't get your aggression out if you don't stage dive and listen to heavy music, because they don't even know what they're missing, because all they know about is you know Beyonce and Little Nas and all these mainstream artists that are known more for how they look and dress than they're known, for their music, like Taylor Swift and all that garbage that's just not music. But I want to be at least part of waking kids up to, hey, there's music out there that has an edge, where the lyrics have a lot to do with what you're going through, depression,
Mm.
things that Taylor Swift, you know, doesn't go into great detail about. All those different kind of pop people, they don't talk about that. They talk about, I'm beautiful, I'm sexy, and you're not gonna touch me. You're not gonna, and that's what it's all about right now is this empowerment of individual people that, you know, turn you on and then don't let you have any, and then don't give you anything. It's like, what's the point turning me on if you're not gonna, you know, whatever. It's just ridiculous. But I'd like to see. Bottom line, I like to see rock and metal come back into the mainstream. It's just gonna take somebody to invest in it and make it happen. But it's going to come back around anyway, because history always repeats itself. And as
Yeah,
human beings, we don't have enough good ideas to come up with new ones. So I think that all the old ideas that come and go just come back as new ideas. So
yeah, I'm
that's
sure it will be like that. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, of course, about CKY. It's like an inevitable. I was watching some interview you did. Maybe it was also Zoom. I don't know, like a year ago, about the departure from CKY. You said like you guys just kind of lost connection. So what's
yeah.
happened? Did you just like drifted apart, like went separate ways? What was it?
Well, we with how popular CKY became, we turned ourselves into a corporation, and all three of us are presidents of the corporation. Now, for me to resign from CKY, which I never did, I would have to sign a few documents, saying that I'm resigning from this company and all that. But I didn't do that. So legally, I'm still in the band. But with the way things were happening, I didn't see much of a future after Carver City came out. We played a lot of small shows when we were so used to selling out bigger places, and then it started to cost money to tour. And even though it's never been about money for me, you'd be out of your mind to be in a band where you go and play shows and you come back with less money than you had when you went out there.
Hmm.
So that was just one of many, many issues. I think that we had a good run. We weren't getting along, as well. I think we were frustrated because we knew that we weren't going to get any bigger. So I don't like to be part of a sinking ship. I'd rather get on a small boat that's going to go further into the ocean, like, travel faster than be on a big boat that's like sinking. So I know that's a weird analogy, but
Do you ever see like maybe a reunion somewhere in the future with like Chad and Jess, like Black Sabbath did with Ozzy?
well, I mean, a reunion with Ozzy and Black Sabbath, I think that took 20 years or something.
Took a lot
I've
of
been,
time, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't say I wouldn't. There, in a lot of ways, the three of us are a dysfunctional family. We're very close. We're brothers, but we we're very dysfunctional, and sometimes we go a little bit too far, um, disrespecting each other, es- especially when it's public.
Hmm.
I think that there's games being played. Like, I think that them doing an album without me was kind of like a way to not invite me to the party. Like, we're having a party, you're not invited. And then fans saw that as ridiculous, that they couldn't continue without me. So, without being spiteful, definitely not jealous, definitely not fired or quit, I had to continue what I was doing. And that's where 96 Bitter Beings came about. So, there's a lot of drama. I don't read about it anymore. I can't believe that people still talk about something that happened so many years ago. Really, the last straw was that Jess called me up and said, we had, or no, what happened was is that I was upset about something and said, I need a break from you guys or something like that. And then I found out that we had an Australian tour booked. And without saying anything, Jess hired this guy named Daniel Davies, who
Yeah, I remember.
ironically scores the Halloween movies with John Carpenter because he's John Carpenter's godson. But anyway, Jess was obsessed with that. Um, Even though I wouldn't call Daniel Davies, I don't know much about him, but I wouldn't, from what I've seen, I don't think he's a very talented guitar player. Definitely not a very talented singer, but there was something about him that Jess really liked. So I think that Jess was eager to push me out of the Australian tour and get this guy to replace me, who really didn't want to do it anyway. So I called up and I said, I'll do the Australian shows. And Jess said something to me like, you don't want to. It'll be a waste of your time, and you'll probably complain that you're not getting paid enough, which is never anything I've ever said. I've never said, hey, I'm not getting paid enough to do this show. It was only when we weren't getting paid and losing money that it was a problem. But that's how it happened. And I never spoke to them since until 2014 when Chad got in a fight with Jess and wanted to continue with me. And he moved to California, close to where I was, and we started working on some stuff. We
I
recorded,
remember there were some pictures of you guys with guitars,
yes,
like, yeah.
from 2014. And it sucked that he moved all the way out here, but right away his attitude was even worse than it ever was before. And he tried to control every single aspect of what he never tried to control before. We just worked together and made things happen, but he was trying to tell me, don't talk to the fans, don't write busy, just write simple stuff. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to sit here and listen to you tell me how to write my songs that you've been getting royalties and we've been playing from 1999 on, you know? So you know, it sucked. I didn't put much thought into the fact that he had taken all the time to leave home, sell his house, and come out to California to work with me. But it was so uncomfortable and awkward, and it, he made it so difficult that it was just like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm sorry you moved here, but I'm not working with you. So that caused another problem. And I think that him and Jess made up, and then they did another album without me. It's just like been like childish games and stuff like that. But whatever. That stuff used to bother me, you know. Um, People saying nasty, mean things about me that aren't true, maybe some things that were true. And then I would try to defend myself, and I'd be on all those message boards, and you never get anywhere because you're not going to change anybody's mind. So years ago, I decided I'm just going to do my music. People are going to like it, people are not going to like it. Some people won't care, some people will care a little bit. There's all kinds of people that listen to music that'll find out about us and make their decision. I don't have any control of that. So I just try to, work with the guys in the band to make the music that we like. And then that's it. Because you can't
That's
please
the best
everybody.
best way. Like let the music speak.
Right.
And I want to ask you like one more question, about future of what are your some plans, goals, wishes, uh, with everything you do, like 96 beer beans, your solo stuff, World Underblood. It doesn't matter what it is, but what are your kind of some plans for the future?
To tour as much as we comfortably can. We want to do tours, but I'm comfortable touring a month at a time because after 3 weeks, it really starts to get crazy, and it fucks with your head, and you get tired of it. You get on autopilot. You tend to start to feel like you're just doing a job, and then you you stop wanting to meet your fans because you meet them every day, and they usually ask you the same questions. Those are things that we should have appreciated that we didn't when we were in our 20s. So now, like, the whole reason I'm doing this now is so that we can do tours that are short enough where we can not get burnt out by being on autopilot and everything being so similar every day. So maybe we'll do a month of touring and then take a month off, and then do another month of touring somewhere else, take a month off. That's a goal that I would like to have done, but you know, um, we'll get there. But there's other things to work on. I want to play shows. The last tour we did, where we did 5 weeks, I got to talk to everybody that showed up, all the fans, and it was so much fun. But at the end of the road, at the end of the tour, it was relieving that it was a relief that the last show was played. Everybody had a good time. Let's take a break before it gets, aggravating. And now it's like, okay, we've been home for 2 months. Let's go back out for another 4 or 5 weeks. So that's what we're trying to make happen. I would love to do some festivals. Even when CKY was as big as we ever were, we were rarely offered festivals. It was interesting because I found out recently that Machine Head has never played a festival. That band Machine Head, I think they
Didn't
played
know that.
one. Yeah, they only played one. And I like festivals. They're very different. First of all, they're celebratory. There's tents, and there's vendors, and there's people selling really cool stuff, and there's all these bands, and the audience is huge, and you get to play for people that don't know who you are. And I like to play in arena sized. I mean, one of the festivals we did, we had 80,000 people in the audience, and it was so cool, and it was just mind blowing. It just gives you, as a musician, it just gives you such an amazing feeling to be a front man, be the singer and the guitar player, and all these people are watching you. Some of them love you, some of them hate you, some of them don't know who you are. Some of them are finding out who you are and they love you. Some of them are finding out who you are and hate you. So there's a lot of different groups of people when you're playing in festivals. And when we were doing arenas with Guns N' Roses, and we did arenas with Godsmack, and it's just a different thing. It's more of a spectacle. You can't see the audience. You just have to do your show without much audience. reaction, like interaction. So it's
Mm.
different. Playing clubs, intimate clubs, is awesome, and then doing the opposite, playing huge arena shows, opening for a band, is awesome too. So I want to get more of that. I want us to do everything that we can to spread the word and get everybody back that still doesn't know where the hell I've been, and that's happening. That's going well. Um, I would like just what everybody who's an artist wants to, you know, well, a lot of artists want to be famous, but I don't want to be famous or ever seen as a rock star. But I would like as many people as possible to hear us and say, I like this. I want to be a fan of this band. So I'd like to be able to travel more. I'd like to be able to um, just make the best of it, however we can in 2022, and more. Uh, 5 years ago, when I suggested that vinyl will come back, everybody laughed. Said, "Nobody's gonna fucking buy vinyl
Yeah,
ever
vinyls are
again."
huge now.
Right. So I feel confident in that. A lot of my ideas are good ideas because they were shot down years ago, and they eventually happened. So we're just confident. We're not gonna be shy about talking about new ideas, good ideas that might seem not possible. We can try to make happen. I'd like to get, it would be amazing if what happened with Metallica would happen again, where James Hetfield got a hold of our CD and invited us to open for them in San Francisco. I think if James Hetfield got a copy of Synergy Restored, he would probably do the same thing. Now, this was in 2003, the week before Saint Anger came out, so he was a different person. But he had just gotten sober, and he was really, really, really cool to have James Hetfield. And I can't even put this into words the way this felt. But growing up with, after of course it was Kiss, Ozzy, and then Metallica. And when I got Master of Puppets, it really encouraged me to be a good rhythm guitar player and learn how to play like that. So I sat for hours learning how to play those songs. It made me a better rhythm guitar player. I had the tab books. When Injustice for All came out, I was 12 years old, and I'm sitting there and I'm um, working on these guitar riffs, trying to play Blackened and Eye of the Beholder and all that stuff. And then to have James Hetfield come up to me and say, your riffs are so fucking incredible. I can't believe it. I was like, that isn't that what I should have just said to you? That is
Mhm.
something that I will always remember, and I think about it so much, that somebody that I was a huge fan of, that I wouldn't be here without. I would not be here without James Hetfield, and for him to tell me that he was a fan of mine is just mind blowing.
That's a huge compliment coming from James.
Yes, it was so. I can't describe how it made me feel good, but multiply that by 10,000. That's how it felt. It made me cry for a week. It sent like chills down my spine. There was a lot of times where I denied that it ever really happened, but because it was so unexpected and unusual, not only for him to be a really nice guy, beyond nice, and be able to talk like a normal person, like unlike other bands that are not nowhere near as successful as Metallica, who act like total rock stars and assholes, which I used to do, and CKY used to do. When we were burnt out on the road doing 3-4 months, and we're tired of it, and started to feel like a job. It didn't even feel like we were entertaining anymore. We turned into assholes, not only to each other, but it was kind of like being in jail. We were in a bus. We couldn't get away from each other, and it's unhealthy for bands to stay on the road for that long, because at some point you're going to, without being on purpose, without intentionally doing it, you're going to stop appreciating the gift you've been given, how rare it is to be able to make a living doing something like that. You forget these things. You forget that there's people outside after a show that want to meet you so bad and just get your signature on a photo. We used to run and hide on our bus, or we'd have our road manager lie and say, they're not here, they already left. That's stuff that we should have taken the time to make everybody happy, and we didn't because we were young. And they say that youth is wasted on the young. I think that's the saying. But most bands get successful when they're young. And when you're 20, you don't know shit about shit. And now that I'm 46, I realize, okay, I can still do what I used to do. I can still do it and do it better. And I learned from mistakes that I've made in the past where I thought my farts didn't smell, and I'm treating people like shit unless there was something that we could gain from it. And I'm very apologetic about my attitude in the past. I've done some really fucked up shit. I I regret it, and that's another reason why I'm doing this band. Not only because I can't live without being in a band, I can't live without releasing albums, I can't live without music in general. With no music to write or play or record or release or listen to would kill me. It means too much to me. But I wanted to take this second chance opportunity to start a new band, and we're on our second record now. And I want to make up for all of the shit and really uncool and unprofessional things, not only that CKY did, but that I did. Now, I don't know if those guys want to apologize for the bullshit they did, but that's up to them. But me, this is a second chance that I've been given, and we're starting to draw more and more people in every day, and I just want to spread positivity in the music. I don't want our songs to be dark and well, dark is fine, but I want to have a message where things are dark, but you can solve that, because there's too much horrible shit going on right now. I don't need to add. There's too many bands. All metal bands, as far as I know, are out there saying, fuck this, fuck the government, this is, I don't,
Mhm.
even when I'm doing death metal, I try to have a little bit of tongue in cheek humor in there where, it's kind of like Evil Dead. It's not a serious horror movie. But if you take or Shaun of the Dead and all that kinds, those horror comedy films that don't take themselves as serious as maybe, um, I don't know, what's a really serious horror movie? Silence of the Lambs or something. I don't know.
Something to think about, yeah.
Yeah, but I just it's what it's all about. Um, I just want to be honest and fair. I want my band members to be happy, which for some reason didn't work. But that was their problem. It was something that they needed to do because of the choices that they made in their life. It wasn't like we pushed them away or anything. But
Yeah.
now the lineup of the band is way more solid, um, tighter. Our new drummer is so good, and Matty J on bass has always been fun to watch, and he's an amazing musician. Um, and we're very similar in that we know we're not similar. We can get along, so we're similar in the fact that we know that we're not similar, and we accept that. So we both know that, which is something we have in common. So I've known him since he was 14. He was running around the studio when we were working on Volume 1 in 1998. He was 14. I think I was 20. It was just a different time now, and now it's just it's proof that it's working out because it's happening again. It's repeating itself, and I think that I would just really love to see people find out about the music. It's hard to reach people, but if we reach people and they decide they don't like it, at least they heard it and made that decision. It's frustrating to know that you have an album out there and that there's probably definitely an audience that would love it if they found out about it. So I guess that's one of the newest goals, is to get people that would love this band to hear it and realize that they love it. But it's
Synergy
always about,
restored is like a really good step, I think. Deron, thank you so much for your time and this interview. It's really a huge honor for me.
I
I
appreciate it.
really love your work. I mean, since CKY days, and thank you so much. It was really a pleasure for me.